Good morning. Welcome to Windward Buddhist Temple's Bodhi Day Service. My name is Gerald Matsuda, and I'll be your MC for today. I'd like to welcome and thank Reverend Kerry Kiyohara for officiating today's service and being our guest speaker. We will begin with the ringing of the temple bell, or Kansho, that signifies the beginning of a temple service. It is a deep and sacred ritual steeped in ancient tradition. It is the calling of the people to come together to listen to the Dharma or teachings. The temple bell represents the gratitude and deep appreciation of the members, friends, and guests of the Windward Buddhist Temple. Please sit quietly in your seat while it's being rung. We now have the offering of flowers and light. If you are able, please rise for a meditation followed by the chanting of the Vandana Ti-Sarana by the congregation in both Pali and English, which can be found in our red Jodo Shinshu service book. It is on page 7.
guidance. Namo Amida Butsu, Namo Amida Butsu, Namo.
Please be seated. Today's sutra is Junirai, and it is found in our red Jodo Shinshu service book on page 59. The chant starts on page 60. Sendo zokuson zai mi me u andakok muryo bushishu ineu konji kishingyo nyo seno shamata gyo nyo zoru Byomoku jonyaku shorenge koga chorai midason menzen enjo nyomangats iko yunyo senichigats shonyo Kukushira Koga Chorai Midason Kanon Chodai Kanchuju Shuju Me Uso Hosho Ugon Nobukugedo Makeuman Koga Chorai Midason Mubi Muku Koshojo Shutoku Ketsu Nyokoku Shosari Yakutoku Jizai Koga Chorai Midason Jippo Monbashu Muryo Shomajo Sandan Isho Shoujo Gandikiju Koga Chorai Midason Kontai Hogen Chishoke Zengon Shoujo Meudaiza Ohiza Jonyo Senno Koga Chorai Midason Jippo Shorai Shobushi Kengen Jinzu Shi Andak Sengo Songen Jokugyo Koga Chorai Midason Sho Umujo Mugato Yakunyo Suigatsu Denryoro Ishu Seppo Mumyo Uchi Koga Chorai Midason Hisombu Setsumu Akumyo Yakumunyo
になくとぶ主任死心教義尊子が将来未だ尊非尊無料法勉強無所主悪知識お上たしぼだい子が将来未だ尊仮説非尊苦独自修善無変如海水諸語逆前言諸者衛生主上小非
If you are able, please rise for the recitation or pledge, which will be projected on the screen. Then please remain standing for the Gatha, Buddha Loves You, found on page 37 of the Purple Praises of the Buddha book.
Our pledge. Reaching out to others, I will share a smile and gentle words, just like the Buddha, who always calls out with aloha. Breaking away from my greed, anger, and ignorance, I will try to live in peace and harmony, just like the Buddha, who shares tranquility and kindness with all. Moving forward from self-centeredness, I will share a life of joy and sorrow with others, just like the Buddha, whose caring heart always embraces us. Realizing that I live because of others, I will live life to the fullest with an attitude of gratitude, just like the Buddha who promises to embrace us all. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Never remember the words. Okay. favorite one. Thank you.
It's always a fun classic. Okay. Okay. Today our speaker is Reverend Kerry Kiyohara, and so I'd like to call up Cynthia to give an introduction.
Hey, good morning. Reverend Kerry Kiyohara is resident minister of the Makawao Buddhist Temple on Maui. He just arrived this morning, serving the Hompa Hongwanji mission of Hawaii. He was Tokudo ordained in 2016 and graduated from Chuo Bukkyo Gakuen Seminary in Kyoto in 2018, receiving his Kyoshi certification as a teacher in the Jodo Shinshu Hongwanji tradition. Reverend Kerry graduated with a BA and MBA degrees from the University of Southern California and previously worked as an executive, consultant, and writer in Los Angeles, Tokyo, Beijing, Shanghai, and Honolulu. He speaks American English natively, fluent professional Japanese, basic Spanish, survival Chinese, but struggles daily with Hawaiian pidgin. Reverend Kerry is married to Mimi, and they are delighted to be grandparents of a 13-year-old granddaughter and a 5-year-old grandson. Reverend Kerry?
Thank you. Good morning. Good morning. Aloha mai kako. Aloha kakahiaka, if you want to be fancy. Ohayo gozaimasu. Thank you very much for inviting me to be your guest speaker this morning. When I think about it, I don't think we've been here for quite a while. The last time was right after I got Tokudo ordained. So somewhere around 2016, 2017, I think. And our granddaughter, quite literally, was like, this big. She's now 13. She's almost as tall as I am, which is kind of scary. But I'd like to start with a children's Dharma story time. So for all the kids in the audience, this is for you. And if you're over the age of 65, it's okay. You can pretend to be a kid. So today's children's Dharma story time is called Santa Buddha, a Christmas Story. Once upon a time, in a magical place called Hawaii, 8 beautiful islands in the middle of the big blue sea, there lived a little girl and a little boy, and many happy children. One day, the little girl and the little boy were writing letters to Santa. "Dear Santa, I want a doll," said the little boy. "Dear Santa, I want a fire truck," said the little girl. The other children laughed and said, "Dolls are for girls. Fire trucks are for boys." The little boy said, "But I like dolls." The other children laughed and he was sad. The little girl said, "But I like fire trucks." The other children laughed and she was sad. They kept teasing and laughing, and the little boy and the little girl began to cry. Now, the other children felt bad because they made the little boy and little girl cry. The other children didn't mean to make the little boy and the little girl cry, but teasing them was so much fun, they couldn't stop. The other children became sad and started crying too. And there they were, all the children crying. Just then, Santa Buddha appeared. "Ho, ho, ho! Happy Bodhi Day! Meli Kalikimaka! Merry Christmas! Happy Hanukkah! Happy Kwanzaa! How's it, Keiki? How come you all cry?" said Santa Buddha. The little boy said, "I was writing a letter to you, Santa, and I said I wanted a doll for Christmas, but the other children teased me. And they said, dolls are for girls, and I'm a boy, so I started crying." The little girl said, I was writing a letter to you, Santa, and I said, I want a fire truck for Christmas. But the other children teased me and said, fire trucks are for boys. And I'm a girl. I felt sad, and I started crying. The other children said, we kept teasing the little girl and little boy. We didn't mean it, but we made them cry, and that made us cry too. Santa Buddha laughed so hard, his belly shook like a bowl full of haupia jelly. Ho, 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 ho. Ho, 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 well, my beautiful little keiki, first, let's stop crying, because it's almost Christmas, the happiest time of the year. So the children stopped crying and started smiling. Santa Buddha smiled and says, Amida Buddha teaches each of us is different, and yet we are all one. Who knows what that means? The little girl smiled and said, I know. It's like a rainbow, when each color shines just as it is, and all the colors are shining together just as they are. All the colors together form a beautiful rainbow that stretches around the world. Santa Buddha smiled and said, that's right. You're a very wise little girl. Ho, 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 ho. The little boy smiled and said, I know. Amida Buddha loves each of us just as we are and wants us to be happy just as we are, even if sometimes we're a little naughty. Santa Buddha smiled and said, that's right. You're a very wise little boy. The other children smiled and said, we know. Amida loves all of us just as we are, whether we're a boy, a girl, or both, or neither. Or whether we're naughty or nice. So we should just try to be nice all the time. And if we're naughty, we should say, I'm sorry, and try to be nice the next time. Santa Buddha smiled and said, that's right, you are all very wise little keiki. Do you know why Christmas is the happiest time of the year? The children all laughed and said, because we get lots of presents. Santa Buddha said, that's right, ho, ho, ho. Isn't it fun to receive presents? What do we say when we receive presents? Mahalo, thank you, arigato, gracias, obrigado, xie xie, said all the children together, smiling and laughing. Santa Buddha winked and said with a smile, what's even better than receiving presents? The children all thought really hard for a moment. And then they laughed and said, giving presents to other people and making them happy too. Santa said, that's right, ho, ho, ho. Isn't it more fun to make other people happy? The children all laughed and said, yes, because then we can all be happy together. Santa Buddha said, mahalo, children, you're all very wise little keiki. Christmas is the happiest time of all because we can be Santa, just as we are, by giving gifts and by making people happy, just as they are. Santa Buddha smiled and said, I have to be going now. Christmas is a busy time for Santa. Ho, ho, ho. So many gifts to give, so little time. Ho, 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 happy to Christmas to all, and to all a good night. And the children all lived happily ever after in a magical place called Hawaii, 8 beautiful islands in the middle of the big blue sea. The end. Okay, so if you're a kid, you can go to sleep now because this is the boring part. The Dharma Talk for the rest of us, I'd actually like to talk a little bit about the Bodhisattva, Santa Claus. In the children's story, I use Santa Buddha just because it's easier to understand what it is. But today is Bodhi Day, which is one of the 6 major services in the Jodo Shinshu Hongwanji tradition. And it marks the day that the historical Buddha, Gautama Siddhartha, who was a real human being, is recognized as being a real person, 2,500 years ago, sought the truth. He sought the answer to why do people suffer? Why is there suffering in human life? And so he goes through all of these things. You probably know the basic story. And then decides, after trying all of these things and it didn't work, he says, I'm going to sit underneath that tree until I discover the truth or die trying. And there's different forms of the story, but we tend to go with the more aggressive one. So he sits and he sits and he sits. And then he awakens to reality as it is. He awakens to the truth of human existence, of human life, and the cause, and thus the elimination of the cause of suffering. And this becomes what we know as Theravada Buddhism. So, shave your head, become a monk, chant the sutras all the time, go sit under trees for 7 years. So raise your hand if you want to become a monk. Nobody? No, I'll show you the picture of me when I shave my head. I look pretty good. Obviously, not everyone is in a position to become a monk, to give up everything, sacrifice everything. And if you'd like to become a monk, well, here, give me your money and the title to your house and everything like that. Shave your head, take off your nice clothes. There's some rags on the ground. Let's pick those up. Those become, the robes of a monk. And by the way, you don't get to have any fun. Let's use that word. No fun as a monk. So if you're not in a position to do this, this is where Mahayana Buddhism comes out. It's Buddhism for the rest of us who cannot become monks. And in the Mahayana tradition, there's the ideal called the Bodhisattva. Now, so we use the Bodhisattva Santa Claus as the metaphor today to understand what does it mean to awaken to reality as it is, to become a Buddha, to celebrate, because we're celebrating Bodhi Day. Now, we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for the historical Buddha sharing the truth of Amida's great compassion that reaches out to all of us, just as we are. Right? All you have to do is say Namo Amida Butsu with a sincere heart, pure mind, sincere heart, and an aspiration to be born into the Pure Land, to become a Buddha, not for yourself, but for everybody else. Okay. So, defining bodhisattvas. In the Mahayana stream of Buddhism, Jodo Shinshu Hongwanji is part of the Mahayana stream. A bodhisattva is a being who has realized the stage of spiritual development where they're ready to be awakened as a Buddha. They're ready to become Buddha. But they say, no, wait a minute. I'm not going to become Buddha unless everybody becomes Buddha, unless everyone is saved and everyone is freed from the 6 realms of existence, the endless cycle of birth and death. Right? But they choose to stay behind. Right? So I'm ready to become a Buddha, but no, I want everyone to become Buddha. So think of that, the heart of compassion that reaches out to everybody just as they are. So the path of the Bodhisattva traditionally is based on fulfilling vows, and the most basic vows are, may I attain Buddhahood for the benefit of all sentient beings. So that's the most basic one, right? It's not for me, it's for everybody. So there's many schools in the Mahayana stream, including Pure Land, which is us, Zen, you probably know about Zen, and also Vajrayana, which we know of as Tibetan Buddhism, also in Japanese tradition, Shingon Buddhism, Koyasan. And then there's 4 fundamental vows that all the schools share, which is beings being numberless, I vow to save them. I vow to save the countless beings that are out there. Desires are inexhaustible. I vow to end them. Right? I vow to end all of my desires. The Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them, all of them. Right? The Buddha's way is unsurpassable. I vow to become it. Right? So those are the 4 basic vows of the Bodhisattva. And then in addition, each Bodhisattva makes their own vows, their own personal vows. So Amida, before becoming Amida, was a Bodhisattva named Dharmakara, who makes 48 vows, okay, which when fulfilled, which would create a path for everyone, anyone, all sentient beings to become Buddha, right? Regardless of whether you've got money or power or influence, education, ability, or nobility of birth. It doesn't matter. Just as you are, you can become a Buddha because Dharmakara makes these vows and he fulfills the vows. So the most important of Dharmakara's 48 vows is the 18th vow, which is known as the Hongan. Raise your hand if you've heard Hongan before. Oh, Hongwanji! We spell it Hongwanji for historical reasons, but the Hongan, so we are the temple of the primal vow, the temple of the 18th vow, right, which says, if, when I attain Buddhahood, sentient beings in the 10 directions who, with sincere mind, joyfully entrust themselves to me, aspire to be born in my land, and call my name even 10 times, should not be born there, may I not attain perfect enlightenment. Excluded are those who commit the 5 grave offenses and those who slander the right Dharma. The wisdom of Gautama Buddha, which you can find in the larger sutra and the Tathagata of immeasurable life. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. So this vow basically says, right, everybody, right, if you have a sincere mind, pure heart, right, if you have this aspiration to be born into the Pure Land, to become a Buddha, to save everybody else, right, and right, you say the name maybe 10 times. And the name is Namo Amida Butsu. You say the name of Amida Buddha 10 times. That's it. Easy, right? So why isn't everybody Jodo Shinshu Buddhist? I'll talk about that too. So the primal vows for the awakening of all sentient beings, just as you are, through Namo Amida Butsu, through birth into the Pure Land, becoming a Buddha, and you return in oneness to this world of confusion and delusion to guide everybody else to their birth into the Pure Land. So to call my name is to say Namo Amida Butsu. And the vow literally says maybe 10 times. Maybe 10 times. So sincere mind, think about that. Sincere mind and heart, kokoro in Japanese. So it's the mind and the heart. Free of defilements, free of doubt. Right? Free of impurities, free of doubt. Joyfully entrust, this is what we refer to as shinjin, or the entrusting heart. And aspiration to be born into the Pure Land to benefit all sentient beings. So these are the 3 major conditions. And we'll skip over the exclusion clause for now, because in essence, Shinran teaches that it's a warning. It's not actually an exclusion. But that's a separate talk too. But if you do need to understand the doctrinal basis of Jodo Shinshu Buddhism, this is where to start. Start with the 18th vow. Understand what it means. Understand what it means. Because Shinran's writings, he says, it's for me. This is Shinran, the founder of our tradition. He gets his own picture in the altar. You know, I mean, he's saying, it's for me. It's just this realization of how selfish he is. So we have, you know, you've probably heard of the 6 paramitas, the 6 perfections. It's actually very similar to the Eightfold Noble Path of the Theravada tradition. I won't go all of them in detail, but basically the most important one I'll talk about today is dana, which is generosity and selfless giving. There's also virtue, morality, discipline, patience, tolerance, energy, diligence, self-reflection or meditation, and wisdom. So, the most important point that I like to make, you know, in this particular talk is that we give the Dharma away for free because they're priceless. These teachings are absolutely priceless. That's why we give them away. Right? If I wanted to be rich, I'd say, well, $50,000 for a weekend at you know, exclusive resort, and I will reveal the truth to you. But I need $50,000 up front. And because you pay me $50,000, obviously it's worth that much money. Sorry, I used to be an advertising guy, so I'm a little cynical. But think about it, right? When the Sangha followers, so the Sangha, this is us, when we receive this gift, this priceless gift of the teachings of the Buddha Dharma, right? In return, we make offerings, right? In many forms to express our joyous gratitude. We, oshoko, right? We honorific burning of incense. We offer incense to the Buddha. We had the offering of lights and flowers at the beginning of the service. And thanks to the young people who did it, you did a great job. You know, what do we give, right? What are we giving to the temple? Lights, flowers, food, money. Your offertory bowl there, and also volunteering time, energy, skills, you know, to support the temple and the Sangha. So thank you, Ryan, for working on a Sunday to do the live stream. But also, you know, you have a Toban, right? You have a group of people who are responsible for setting the place up. Thank you very much for dressing the altar. It's, you know, a very formal occasion. I should be wearing my formal robes, but I didn't want to take a big suitcase with me, so. But think about it, right? We do all these things for the temple. All these things for the temple, or you're asked to do all these things for the temple. And offerings is the English translation, the Japanese ofuse, which is a translation of the Sanskrit word puja, but also dana. So if you're familiar with Project Dana, right, this idea that we take care of our kupuna elders, right, so they can stay home as long as possible. And we do this for free because we want them to be happy. We want them to be happy. It is an offering. It is a way of expressing our gratitude. So the Windward Buddhist Temple, which also known as Kailua Hongwanji Mission, right, and think about the community of communities that are centered around this temple. Right? It exists today because of the egoless generosity of countless people who came before us. Right? Think about it, right? Pioneers who came to a foreign land, right? They worked incredibly hard, and they learned to come together as a community, put aside their differences, come together as a sangha to build temples and to perpetuate the organizations that we've inherited. And yet, when we think about it, right, gee, that's pretty easy. We should all be like super generous, right? But it's the perfection, right? Paramita means perfection. The perfection of egoless generosity. It's the egoless part. The Buddha teaches the egoless part. That's the hard part, right? How do you learn to give freely, right? Without any calculation, without any expectation or recognition, expectation of recognition or reward. So why is it so hard? Why is it so hard? The Buddha's truth, the Buddha's teaching is very easy. It's because born human, we think, it's about me. It's about me. This life, the world, it revolves around me. And if you write me in capital letters, it's about my ego. Right? This explains the human condition. Right? Why is it that we just can't get along? Well, because it's about me. So those other guys are the bad guys. It's about me. I'm right, you're wrong. So, but also you think about it, right? As Americans, we're conditioned to believe that we will be recognized and rewarded for our generosity. If you give $100 million to an organization, hey, you expect to be immortalized with your name on this fancy building, right? which is not to be critical of people who give money to make buildings and stuff, but just to say that as Americans, that's what we expect, right? If I give $1 million, hey, I expect something, maybe my picture on the wall, I don't know, but something, right? And this is just American culture. If we volunteer, this one, right? If you volunteer long hours at Makawao, we just finished our garage sale. So if you spend hours and hours, 2 weeks, cleaning and sorting and pricing and merchandising thousands and thousands of items, at least you expect the minister to come up and say, thank you. I try. Okay, this is my favorite one. Have you ever come to the temple on a Sunday, right, and you reach into your wallet to drop a dollar bill into the offertory bowl, and you pull it out and, oops, it's a $20 bill. What do? Do you put the 20 in there and grab some change? Or if you're really naughty, you palm it, right? You hide it in your hand and you pretend to put the money in there. Don't do that, by the way. But right, to be really honest, right? You think about it. I look at myself. I take a very similar approach with homeless people, right? That I might meet on the street. You meet them at Home Depot or Walmart, the parking lot, whatever. When I look at my wallet, and I will show you, I have a $5 bill separate from the rest of my money. Right? So a homeless person comes and says, hey, bro, can you, spare some change? I say, sure, man. Here you go. But think about it, right? I'm an ordained priest. I'm a temple minister. I'm teaching Buddhism. I'm supposed to know this stuff. And yet, I play all these games with myself because, well, I'm a minister. I should give something. Yeah. But I don't want to give, I don't know how much cash I've got with me, but if you have this much cash, I'm sure the guy will at least get a cup of coffee at Starbucks. It's pretty expensive now. I used to give $1, but I just realized you can't actually buy anything with $1 anymore. You go to Costco, or you go to Starbucks, it's like $5 for a regular cup of coffee. I mean, just regular cup of coffee, not the fancy kind. But the point just being, right, that as an ordained priest, as a Hongwanji minister, I still do these things because it's human nature. It's human nature. So you can see that even, I look at myself and say my human generosity falls way short of the perfection of generosity. Right? It falls way short of the Bodhisattva ideal. And that's just one of 6 perfections that you have to complete to become a Buddha. Okay, I've got some way to go. So if you think about it, right, think about it very seriously, what does the perfection of generosity look like? I forgot to bring my hat, but I put on a Santa hat and go, ho, 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 here comes Santa Claus. Right, consider this, Santa spends the entire year, right, a whole year making all these toys. Right? He employs an army of height-challenged immigrant laborers. They're from someplace else, obviously. And then in one night, he delivers all of these toys for free to all of the nice girls and boys. And he delivers lumps of coal to all the naughty boys and girls. I imagine some brother, here in Hawaii kind of going, hey, Santa, what is this? This black thing, man. What am I supposed to do with this? So think about it, right? The legend of Santa. Santa Claus, he has transcendent and omniscient powers, right? He's making a list. He's checking it twice. He's going to find out who's naughty or nice. Right? He knows if you've been sleeping. He knows if you're awake. Okay. And think about it, right? Santa Claus doesn't do it for recognition or reward, right? In fact, what is Santa's karma? Santa's karma is to eat too many cookies and drink too many glasses of milk that have been left out for hours, right? Multiplied by 1 billion houses around the world. No wonder he got a belly that looks like haupia jelly. So you think about it though, right? Santa has this power, right, to fulfill the wishes of all the boys and girls in the world. Right? Santa also has the power to punish all the naughty boys and girls in the world. Man, he's got superpowers, right? In one night. But what does he do? He just gives it away. He goes, ho, 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 right? And he's laughing all the time. So, the important meaning of Santa, right? You think about it, Santa has the power, right, to make us as parents, as uncles and aunties, as grandparents, and just as people, right, to aspire to this perfection of generosity. We can aspire to it. We can aspire to being that generous, right? Because Santa's practice of dana, right, serves as an inspiration to the rest of us. So what Santa thinks and says and does inspires the rest of us. That's the important message of Santa. Right? So Santa, the perfection of generosity. If we are able to perfect our generosity, right, we have the power to make people smile more easily, to be kinder and gentler to each other, to feel goodwill toward all people and all life, right? To awaken the heart of compassion and the mind of non-discrimination, to awaken our Buddha nature, which is inside of us, if we can just get the ego out of the way. And all through the practice of generosity. All through the practice of generosity. So during these turbulent modern times that we live in, as Buddhists, let us aspire to be Santa Claus. Let us aspire to be Santa, to practice the perfection of dana, the perfection of generosity, to everyone that we meet, everyone that we encounter this holiday season and in the new year. So we can give freely of ourselves, right, through our thoughts and words and actions. We can always show a warm smile. Right? You can always choose to use gentle words, not harsh words. You can look at people with kind eyes. You can give a friendly shaka to everybody who cut you off on the H1. Just one of those things. And they're probably busy. Okay, it's okay, bro. Just go. Holding the door open for our kupuna elders. It's a small thing. Right? Help your neighbors clean up after a big storm. It looks like it's raining pretty hard out there. Up country where I'm from, up in Maui, it's like, no. Every neighbor's needs some help to move branches and mud and stuff out of the way after it rains. You can help others by volunteering, directly by volunteering, or indirectly. You can contribute, make donations to the food banks, the homeless shelters, and charitable causes. So the more that we give of ourselves to others, right, the more we truly feel the heart of compassion and the mind of non-discrimination. The more that we give of ourselves to others, the more that we realize with absolute conviction, the mind of no doubt, all life is one. All life is one. We're not the center of the universe. We're just part of a whole, just part of a whole. So the more that we give of ourselves to others, the more that we experience the joy of knowing without a doubt that we're constantly nurtured, we're constantly supported by kindness and gratitude beyond words. Namo Amida Butsu, the Buddha Amida. So mahalo for listening this morning, and may your holidays be filled with aloha, mahalo, and ohana. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you very much, Reverend Kerry. If you are able, please rise for the Gatha Arigatai. This is found in the Praises of the Buddha book on pages 14 and 15. And please continue to stand for the Nembutsu, which we can find on page 145 of the same book.
The wisdom of the Buddha. If something needs to be done, then do it, and do it wholeheartedly. The wisdom of the Buddha, which you can find in the Dhammapada, this is verse 313. And the wisdom of Mother Teresa. Yesterday is gone, tomorrow has not yet come. we have only today. Let us begin. The wisdom of Mother Teresa. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu. Namo Amida Butsu.
Thank you, everyone, for attending today's service. We'll now have some announcement from Cynthia.
Thank you, Gerald. I'm back again. Dennis couldn't be with us today, so he'll be with us next week. This coming Sunday. Okay, good morning. On behalf of the Windward Buddhist Temple, I would like to thank Reverend Kerry for being the speaker and officiant for our Bodhi Day service today, Gerald, MC, Jerry as greeter, Cookie for ringing the Kansho, Lisa and Joy for playing the piano, Ryan for videotaping today's service. Now, do we have any guests? Oh, that's right, Tony. Tony.
Hi, Tony.
Welcome, Tony. So after refreshments this morning, we will have an intergenerational activity led by Prudence, who shared her samples at our previous service as to what we'll be making. Please be sure to join us. Prudence, do you have anything additional to add to this? Sure.
For those of you that weren't here, we're going to make these little things to hang on your head. We're going to start with this little reindeer because I think it goes faster. And then we're going to make these things here. Yeah.
Oh,
so you can hang it up.
wow.
Thank you, Prudence. I'll be there. Okay. Next Sunday will be a family service, and Reverend Shingo will officiate. And let's see, Dennis will provide the Dharma Talk. It will be our annual general membership meeting and will be held right after our service. Following the meeting, Temple members are invited to have lunch at the new Mui Kwai Chinese restaurant on Oniava Street. If you would like to join us and haven't already signed up, please do so we can provide the restaurant with a head count. Today is the last day to sign up, and the sheet is on the back table. So Joy, do you have anything you'd like to share for your Santa's workshop?
I was thinking that Reverend Kerry gave a very timely talk about Dana and selfless giving, as this is the last week and opportunity to participate in one of our temple's holiday charity. So this is again the Kapilani Hospital Santa's Workshop. Thank you. Many people already signed up. I think it's still in the back, and I think there's still flyers with information. Besides the option of a monetary donation that will go through the temple, there's also a list of items that they're looking for, and this is for not just the children at the hospital, but also the mothers to be. So, and then the items that are donated that are left over after the holiday season are used throughout the year by the child care department or group there as they support these families so throughout the year. So thank you very much for your donation so far.
Thank you, Joy. Let's see. We still have bitter melon namasu for sale, $6 a carton. It's really good. It's really, really good. So if you are interested, please let us know. Actually, you can see either Roy or Cynthia or Diane, one of those. You can see them. But it's really good, I guarantee it. It makes a good Christmas gift, too. Okay. Now, before we go on to the final announcement, are there any other announcements? Okay. Okay, since we did not have a service here last week, today we would like to recognize those who have a birthday in December. So those of you who do, please come to the front to be recognized. And please don't be shy. We know who you are. So please come up.
Sorry, right? Nobody comes up. Yay!
Got two brave ones. Two brave ones. Hey, Mr. Ron. Come. At least you get something.
Yay!
Oh, good. Okay, we're going to sing Happy Birthday, okay, on the count of 3. Oh, here we go.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Father. Happy birthday to you. Yay!
Nice. Thank you. Happy birthday. Oh, we don't want to ask that. That's it. Okay. In closing, let us recite the words of thanksgiving, which is shown on the screen. Okay? We are truly grateful
For this wonderful food, a gift of life. May we share its benefits with all beings. As we partake of this food, let us remember Amida Buddha's compassion, which surrounds all people and all forms of life. Namo. Itadakimasu.
Thank you, everyone.